Do you suffer from depression? Or have you ever experienced a time period in your life where you were just so sad, so down and out, so I don't want to deal with the world? Good, because I am here to, of course, teach and tell you where in astrology, where in your birth chart, when in your life, and how you can see depression, depressive states, depressive mentality in the birth chart, in astrology, because we're all going through the exact same cycles in life, just at different times. So, what you are experiencing right now is what someone has yet to experience. And so, you are, kind of dealing with it in the moment so that you can teach people, honestly, because depression is a gift. Essentially, it is a gift, and I'm going to tell you why, okay? I know that people don't like to deal with it, don't like to go through it, feel like, oh, I cannot move on with myself because of my mental state. Not true, okay? So, if you're somebody who has an idea of your birth chart, kind of the placements that you have there, you don't have to be just completely knowledgeable about everything, but to understand that if you can read Mars, Venus, Saturn, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 12 in your chart, you got it. Okay. So you can kind of see, like, oh my gosh, I have that. Oh my gosh, I've experienced that. And oh my gosh, is this ever going to go away? So if you are somebody who has Saturn in the first house, the fourth house, the eighth house, or the 12th house, then you, of course, can feel very heavy in the way that you feel about your happiness, your source of comfort, because one, the first house is the house of self, your physical self. And then, of course, the 4, 8, and 12 are the water houses. So a lot of self-doubt can happen whenever you have Saturn in those houses. Emotional restriction, because of course Saturn is restriction, and especially if it is afflicted, of course, if there are negative or difficult aspects, maybe some opposition or some squares to your Saturn in connection with other planets, other placements, then that's why you be feeling like that, okay? So if you are somebody who, has any of these placements, please let me know below. We'll form a support group, okay? And so, we can kind of help each other out throughout this journey because, as much as I joke and make light of things, that's what I'm here to do. Sagittarius energy is high optimism. It's not that big of a deal. And helping people, like I said, make light of all type of situations they have going on in their life. Okay, so those Saturn placements. Also, if Saturn is conjunct or square or even opposing, because again, those are the more difficult aspects. Conjunction is kind of neutral, and I wouldn't say any of them are negative, but they just, of course, can create more tension. Saturn in connection to the moon. Of course, the moon is the emotions, and then Saturn is restriction. So if you have Saturn conjunct the moon, Saturn square the moon, Saturn opposite the moon, a lot of emotional suppression, like I said, difficulty processing your feelings, like you are just kind of like, what is going on, trying to make logical sense of it. And then it can also create a sense of loneliness too, because like I said, emotions, usually you're supposed to be happy, you're supposed to be a little bit more upbeat, a little bit more lighthearted, and then you have Saturn there bringing this cold, dry energy to you. And so that's why you could possibly feel like I have no feelings, I have no emotions. I'm very stoic in the way that I, kind of move about the world, the day. And then also if you have Capricorn moon, Capricorn moon, because again, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So it's kind of that similar energy of moon and Saturn. Capricorn moons, I do know a couple who are, I call them, like, I know one that I've been friends with for years. I'm like, you're such a negative Nancy. Like everything is so like practical and serious. And when somebody is like happy or cheering about something, this person is like, ill, no, 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 whatever. And then also Scorpio moon, a lot of times people can like kind of freak out when they hear Scorpio moon. They're like, oh no, I can't deal with that. I can't deal with a person who is Mars and moon. That's that Martian energy, a little bit angry, a little bit, frustrated about things. So of course, Capricorn moon can deal with a lot of emotional coldness. People think like you don't care, like you don't care about anything. And so, it can come across like that they themselves, like something's going on with them, something's wrong with them, that they don't care about anything else. They can also be people who have, again, trouble expressing just the pain that they're dealing with. Scorpio is about depth, and so your emotions can feel very, very deep. So what someone is like what someone thinks is like really lighthearted. A Scorpio moon can be like, no, that is a very serious issue. Like, why are you not more like sensitive to it? They can again sit in those emotions a lot longer than other people too. Like it takes what takes them like a week to get over could take somebody like a day to get over. So that's just kind of something too that, they again they can come across like they're depressed about something, and it's just because it's for such a long time, it's not like a quick like anger thing or a little quick frustration. But depression, of course, can be seen over an extensive period of time. You're sad every single day, or you're dragging something out every single day. That's why, again, people can fall into these states because they prolong everything. Also, too, if you have your moon in the eighth house or the 12th house, again, those are water houses, the Scorpio house and the Pisces house, a lot of emotional intensity. Again, it's kind of like being a Scorpio moon, or it's kind of like being a Pisces moon, where your emotions, again, are very sensitive. Like my lovely, lovely client, I'm sure you are watching this right now. I know you have a Pisces moon, obviously, and of course, you laugh at it, I laugh at it, but when when we were doing our sessions, and then you're just like immediate waterworks, things just hit you a lot harder. And that's why you need to be aware also of people's natal placements, to understand that like what is to me as a Sagittarius moon, like, sometimes people like, oh, that's dark humor, you shouldn't be laughing at that or whatever. That's just kind of the energy. And I do believe that everyone is here to also balance each other out. Like if somebody is really sad, that Sag moon can kind of bring that out of people. Like, um, like I said, make light of their situation, help them laugh some things off too. So, they deal with like subconscious struggles, a lot of isolation as well. People who hurt them a long time ago that can just kind of dwell in them for, again, a prolonged period of time, which again can be very depressive to them. If there are any hard aspects, like I said, a hard aspect could be a conjunction because, there's positives and negatives, a square and an opposition to the moon or to Pluto, again, that emotional intensity, because Pluto is scorpionic. And so it's kind of like a Scorpio moon. So you can have a deep emotional like turmoil or trauma or something that happened a long time ago, maybe in your childhood where like your childhood wasn't as easy as everyone else. When you went home, there was a lot of chaos going on in the house. Again, those feelings just come back to you all the time, and again, put you in that state of like, is it always going to be like this? Am I going to have to deal with this when I get older? My children, you start again thinking about things for a long time, and again, putting you in that melancholic mode pretty often too. And then these people can also deal with a lot of like intense like emotional transformations too. Like although they can be the sensitive type, over time, being able to not take those things as serious. I used to get super emotional about these things and now I don't. But like I said, they can go from that being super depressed and then, of course, again, being a little bit more light about it. Of course, as you learn, as you grow, as you kind of learn, astrology, to stop taking certain things so serious, and also understanding that you are on a journey to learn too. If you have your Saturn squared or opposite Saturn too, it can create a feeling of like inadequacy. You don't have like a lot of self-worth, or you could feel like a heavy burden of responsibility. So like, why do I always have to take care of everything? Why do I always have to do it all? And it's again frustration, again putting somebody into a depressive mode of like, will this ever get better? Will I ever get assistance? Is this always going to be hard? Those things can dwell in them for a long time too. If you have an afflicted Mercury, especially if it's in a water sign or an earth sign, because although it does naturally rule over Virgo, which is an earth sign, it also rules over Gemini, which is air. And so if it's out of its natural element, negative thinking patterns, or even struggling with mental clarity, not being able to process what you're going through, and again, or maybe overthinking, putting yourself into a depression because you're overthinking something like way too much, and making yourself believe things that aren't even true or don't even exist. But again, it can put you in that depressive mental state. And if you have a stellium in the 12th house, now, of course, the 12th house is Piscean type of energy. And the 12th house is also known for isolation, separation from friends or family, or, like, you live in Texas and everybody else lives in Mexico, that there's this like isolation from everyone that you maybe once knew. And so again, can put you in that depressive state. Like, where are my friends? I don't have family. I don't have people around me, who I'm familiar with. Those kind of things can be seen if you have a stellium in the 12th house, or you yourself just like to isolate. Now, although some people do like to be alone, they can also deal with that depressive mentality at the same time, like just because they are alone, but it also is a coping mechanism, being alone helps you process your emotions and why you deal with what you deal with. And again, it's growth. That's why I was saying earlier, I don't know if I said it, I don't remember, that depression is honestly a gift, because if you are spending too much time, like, not thinking about your actions or anything, because you're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Everybody has dealt with something, whether they themselves did it or have received it. Those kind of things can put that mentality in your head that you're not really, I don't know, thinking about who you are, how you are. So depression kind of helps you realize, yourself, and helps you realize, like, your gifts and, your worth and your value, those kind of things too. Yeah, and I think everyone just kind of, what is it called? Like, reevaluates during that time, during the time of like the why, during the time of like no fun, during the time of that, when your mental state is not at its normal. Well, for some people it is normal to be in that state like 24/7, but whenever it is not, I guess, ideal for like a situation of going on in public and things like that, again, it's just a time of reevaluation too. And then also, if you have retrograde Saturn, Pluto, Neptune, and again, those water houses, that can be also, like I said, problems with like your internalized struggles, problems with suppressing your emotions, because those are the water houses too. Water is more sensitive, and I always say sensitive. Sensitive does not always mean like you're just tears all the time, but it can mean like a frustration and anger, like things easily trigger you again, so putting you in that depressive state. But kind of touching on these last 2 years for me, just looking at also transits, all the, kind of placements that I mentioned, if you are going through that transit wise too, that can trigger that for you for a certain time period, like a couple of days, a couple of weeks, couple months, couple years, depending on how long that transit is going to last. And so kind of like fighting that every single day. Again, we all go through it at some point in life. You just, for some people who are just kind of unaware of astrology and birth charts, like, you just don't know when. And so this is why I always tell people, like, be a little bit more, I'm not a sympathy person. Like, I don't need sympathy and like, oh, because I understand that it's not a special, unique thing. Like, everybody's going to go through it or has gone through it or whatever. It's just a part of the human experience. But just to understand that if you have not gone through it yet, just be a little bit more kind to people. Like, astrology has helped me become so hyper aware of people and their journeys, and like what you could go through like later is what somebody's already dealt with. And so even if you haven't gone through it, people kind of go throughout life like thinking like it could never be me, or very judgmental, very like, nitpicky about things that they have yet to experience. Okay. I'm a person included in that too. Just, all of our upbringings and just kind of how we move about life. We just kind of think everyone should do that, or because I'm happy, everyone else should be happy, or because I don't think that's a big deal, everyone should think that's a big deal. So just kind of threw all that out the window. But going through this journey these last 2 years and experience the transits that I did, I'm like, oh my gosh. On top of already being a Saturnian energy, Aquarius and Capricorn, if you have all those placements in your birth chart, you could have, again, a more, I want to say depressive mindset. I don't like that word, but, it's just more melancholic because it's Saturn. It's serious, it's dry, it's cold, it's, kind of like, like the people who like hate when people have fun, or like the old person on the porch watching kids play and being all grumpy. Like, that's Saturn energy. It's very mature. So you can experience that kind of stuff. So that's why I also think that God gave me Sagittarius, to kind of make light of certain situations that, could come up. So, and then also creating content at the same time. Creativity is an outlet for sure. If you are, like I said, experiencing that, do something creative. It doesn't have to be art or drawing or anything like that, but something that you love to do. can definitely help. It kind of takes your mind off of it, of course, for a little bit. But just understanding that again, we all going through something, okay? So be nice to people when you go outside. And if you have any of these placements in your birth chart, let me know if you would are somebody who would like to kind of talk to anybody, including myself, or want to take a look at your birth chart and see what's going on. Like, why am I like this? Of course, I can help you understand that and explain that. So you can go to my website. You can schedule a booking with me. I'll send you an email and then we can go from there. But I thank y'all so much for all of this. And all of this, I mean support. So thank y'all. I will talk to y'all very soon in the next video. Bye.